Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic is bias and sampling methods. Today we talked about some vocabulary associated with statistics. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. The date that I'd like you to put on your paper is January 21st, 2014. And we're going to go ahead and label this page 1. We're going to start back at 1 here for the second semester. In your guided notes, please make sure that you're writing everything down, filling in all of your blanks so you have all of the important notes. I'm not making you write everything from the presentation anymore to save you a little bit of time and so that you can focus on really trying to understand it instead of just writing it all down. So our objective today is I understand what makes a sampling method biased or unbiased. That's what I want you to be able to do by the end of class today. Please remember at any point in time to pause the video so that you can finish taking the notes. I expect that your notes will be neat and easy to read. All right, here goes. So when we're talking about sampling methods, it's the way in which we choose things to sample from a population. For example, if I want to know what 7th graders like to eat, do I ask everybody in my homeroom class? Do I ask everybody that goes into the cafeteria? Do I ask everybody whose first name starts with M? Those are all different ways that I could sample the population of what 7th graders like to eat. So there are some good ways and some bad ways to do this, all right? We don't want our sampling method to be biased. So I wouldn't, for example, go up to every student who orders pizza at lunch and ask them what they like to eat. That wouldn't give me accurate information. So when we talk about some unbiased samples, these are the kinds of samples that we want to be using because they give us accurate information. We first have a simple random sample. So everything in the population, in this case the population of 7th graders, is as likely to be chosen as another. We're not going to be doing that by asking the people who like pizza. That wouldn't be a random sample. An example of a way you could do this is take every student's name, write it on a piece of paper, then put all the names in a bowl and pick one without looking. That would be a random sample. Another unbiased method, a method that gives us valid results, would be something called systematic random sampling. Notice in both of these methods, the word random is key. In order for a sampling method to be valid, to give you accurate information, it has to be random. So in systematic random sampling, the items or people are selected according to a specific time or interval. So what on earth does that mean? It means maybe every 20th person is chosen from an alphabetical list of the students attending a school. Or maybe every 5 minutes you take the next person that you see walking in the hall and you choose them to be part of the sample. It's every consistent time or interval, like the 10th person or the 12th person. That would be a systematic random sampling because there is a system to the way you're choosing people. Okay, so those are the unbiased samples. Now let's talk about the kinds of samples that give us biased data. This is not good. We want to avoid bias in our sampling methods. So a biased sample would be something called a convenience sample. A convenience sample means you ask the people that are easiest to get at. Okay, so if we want to ask the school, let's say we want to ask 7th graders once again what they like to eat, the principal surveys people in Mrs. Aunt's homeroom class. Well, it might give us accurate information, but it's not truly random. Okay, maybe the population of students in my class happen to all like cheeseburgers, and just asking my one homeroom class isn't going to give me accurate information. It's just done out of convenience, hence the name convenience sample. There's also voluntary response survey, and this is one that is used a lot in our society and is not very reliable. It's not very accurate, and you should watch out for it. So a voluntary response sample includes only those who want to participate in the sampling. So clearly you're going to get some biased information out of that. You're going to get some information that is perhaps skewed towards a certain opinion. So a good example is the school offers an online survey about what their favorite food is. So perhaps students at the school who really want to have a say, who want to express their opinions, and maybe really let the administration know what food they like, well, they would go online and do the online survey. There might be lots of kids in the school who are perfectly fine with the food that we have at the school. They don't mind it whatsoever, so they don't really have any reason to go and do the online survey. But perhaps the students who hate the school food would have a reason to do the online survey. That would actually give us biased information. We do not want bias. All right, so let's try and identify whether or not some different samples are valid or not. Now, valid, anytime you hear the word valid, I want you to think unbiased, okay? Data is only valid if it is determined using an unbiased sampling method. So one of the ones we talked about, I'll jump back here real quick, simple random sample or systematic random sample. That's the only time you're really going to get valid data. So let's look here. Number one, to determine what music their customers like, every 10th person to walk into the music store is surveyed. Out of 150 customers, 70 stated that they preferred rock music. The manager concludes that about half of all customers prefer rock music. All right, so what are some key things we need to look for in this to determine if it's biased or unbiased? Well, we have here every 10th person. I want you to circle or underline that in your notes. Every 10th person is surveyed. When we ask ourselves what kind of sampling method that is, it is a systematic random sample. Okay, so a certain interval, you'll remember that's one of the key words, interval, so every 10th person is selected. So because this is a systematic random sample, it is an unbiased sample, and so we can conclude that the results are valid. Okay? Hopefully that makes a little sense to you. Let's look at another example. In your notes, please make sure that you're thoroughly filling in the blanks on this explanation, since I'm looking for you to be able to explain why a conclusion is valid or not valid. You really need to be able to do that. Here's another example. To determine what people like to do in their leisure time, the customers at a music store are surveyed. Of these, 85% said that they like to listen to music. So the store manager concludes that most people like to listen to music in their leisure time. Let's look at some keywords here. Customers of a music store are surveyed. Okay, that is a specific sample of the population. It helps here to ask, what is the population that we're trying to find information about? And if we look at the very first sentence here, to determine what people like to do in their leisure time, that's a very general population. That's just people, all people. So if you only ask people that go to a music store, what you're doing is you're really conducting a convenience sample. Ooh, hang on. You're conducting a convenience sample. The customers of a music store probably like to listen to music in their leisure time. So it is a biased sample, okay? Biased means not valid. Biased equals not valid. So it's a convenient sample once again because all of the people surveyed are just in one location. I want to make sure that you guys are adding little notes like these. What is the population? And maybe drawing an arrow up here to people so that when you look back at these notes, you can really look at the added things that I have in these videos, because that's really what's most important, is the added things, okay? All right, now we have your, we don't have your reflection. I'm pretty sure in your notes I put a reflection. Let me just check real quick. And of course I didn't. All right, aren't you lucky? No reflections today, guys. All right. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.